Looking to sound like you know what's going on in the world? Social strategy, comedy, and other funny stuff? Well, join the club and settle in for the Jeff Dwoskin Show. It's not the podcast we deserve, but the podcast we all need, with your host, Jeff Dwoskin.
All right. Thank you, Maurice, for that amazing introduction. That always gets me going. Welcome to episode 10, the 10th episode of the Jeff Dwoskin Show. So excited to have you back again. We've got a great show for you today. Dave Merheje is here. He's one of the co-stars of Ramy on Hulu. We're going to talk to him in a little bit. It's going to be great. Dave and I used to do open mic comedy together way back when in Canada. We'd go out there and we'd do our thing. We'll talk a little bit about that later as well. It's going to be good times. It was good to catch up with Dave and hear about all his success. So much success. Speaking of success, a quick word from our sponsor, the people that make this all possible. This week's sponsor, Dental Floss. Dental Floss. Yeah, you tell people you use us, but you don't. But that's okay. But maybe try us every now and then. Dental Floss. We're here when you need us. Or when the dentist says, hey, you know, the best way to stop that bleeding is to use Dental Floss. Dental Floss, available at your local convenience store. So last week I talked about the ability to tweet from Twitter, that they added that right from the little tweet box. Sometimes, though, you need a little bit more than that, or you like a different tool. I just wanted to kind of suggest a few that I use. Buffer, Hootsuite, TweetDeck, which is actually part of Twitter, tweetdeck.twitter.com, gives you a different interface. So those are great things to use for very specific things that you want to schedule. Buffer is great if you need something down to the minute. I need this to go at 12:59, and I need to know that it's going to go at 12:59. Hootsuite is not good for that. Hootsuite's like, I need this to go at 1, and maybe Hootsuite's going to send it at 1:01 or 1:02. They're not as specific. So if it's very time sensitive, Buffer or TweetDeck seem to be right on the nose and to the minute. Hootsuite doesn't offer the minute. They only offer on the 0 or the 5. So different things. I use them all, but different times for different things depending on the need. Google it, check it out, learn how to use them. All worth your time. So many years ago when I was starting comedy, you do open mic. And open mic is where you go and you're all new and you're trying material. You get like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. And as you get better, you get more time from the club, and it's a whole experience. And it's a whole community of comedians, and a lot of time it's just comedians playing to comedians. And when you're lucky, you get an audience, and you can actually test your comedy in front of an audience. So one of the places that we all used to go in the Detroit area was a place called Yuck Yucks, and that's in Windsor, Canada. We'd cross the border. And they always had a crowd. It was Sunday nights, and they always had a crowd. And that's where I met Dave Merheje. And so we became friends, and we would do comedy together. And I can't even count how many times we've done comedy together, but like for years. And as time went by, Dave moved on, and he followed his dream to be an actor and full-time comedian. And this conversation is his story. All right, we're here with Dave Merheje, one of Canada's preeminent comedians. How are you, Dave?
How are you, man? How are you? Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. Dave and I, we used to do open mics together at Yuck Yucks and a variety of other places in Windsor and the Detroit area. You've since gone on to many amazing things. Congratulations.
You bring back memories, big time. I remember you had to cross the border to come do Yuck Yucks in Windsor, Canada.
Yeah, we'd cross the border, and they'd have these packed houses, and we had a blast. Those were some really great times. Really great times. We were all just had no idea what we were doing, and just kind of just getting by and just doing what we wanted to do. But you always had a pretty definitive voice, though. You were always a good storyteller on stage, talking about your family and such. Yes.
I appreciate that, man. Man, not saying it just because you said it, but always had me, but had us laughing. Like the group that we would hang out is just so funny, man.
Yeah, it's a great time. So you, from the open mic, you've been a full time comedian now for quite a long time. When did you make the move from Windsor to Toronto to go full time?
I'd say, man, because I didn't have a green card at the time, so I was just kind of doing open mics, I guess, and then because I couldn't get paid in the U.S., so I think I left around 2006, I want to say, or seven, around that time. I moved to Toronto from Windsor, Canada.
And then from Canada, so you won Just for Laughs in 2011, the homegrown comic competition. Tell me about that.
See, it's not a competition anymore, but at that time, they would select like the best newer comics they felt from all over Canada that year, and then we would compete at the Just for Laughs festival. So in 2011, I competed and I won that year, and it was for me. It meant so much too because it kind of it gave me a foot in the door in the Canadian industry. So I started to get into other festivals, so it was kind of broke me in. So forever, I'll be grateful for that award and the festival.
You were part of the NBC Stand Up for Diversity tour.
They had come to Canada to audition. Came to Toronto. I think that was the only city they had come to in Canada. And me and my boy, actually, Kevin Soldo, a funny comedian, we were like, we both, I think I might have, so I was like, yo, you got to come with me. And he was like, bro, I think he's like Serbian. Yeah, he's Serbian. He was like, I don't know if I could. I think he was like, that's not an ethnicity. It is an ethnicity. It's not like he was like, I'm like, he was kind of like hesitant to go. And then I think he might have made up some Serbian jokes in that moment or that day. And we went down there and we auditioned. I made it through the day auditions to come at night. He didn't. And I don't think he made it through the second round, and I think he got a parking ticket. And I remember I riffed off that my second audition during the day, and and that helped me, get. I'm pretty sure that helped me get, because you got like 3 minutes, get there at night. So I get there at night, and then I find out. I don't know when I found out, like months or weeks after that, I got picked to go to LA and do the showcase. It was a showcase, and I did that around December. So from there, I did that showcase, and then they invited five of us or seven of us, I can't really remember, to audition at NACA. The college auditions. So it was like, to me, I don't think, I've never been a part of the NBC diversity thing, so that was very, very exciting. We got flown out there. I was allowed to bring a guest, and I brought Kevin with me, who auditioned with me. And it was just a great time, man. We got to see friends, got to do the showcase, stay in a hotel, rented a car. It was great. And I met some people that I still talk to. I met Tone Bell. I met the Lucas brothers. Yeah, it was. And then they picked me and two Canadian guys, two Canadian people actually. DJ Demers was the other Canadian that was picked as well.
That's amazing. You've done a lot. You've been a regular contributor on MTV Live.
MTV Live was a thing that they did in Canada. It's not on the air anymore, but it was on the air for a while. And Darren Jones was one of the lead hosts. And I think he had left the show and they were auditioning newer people. And I had made it through all the auditions to join. It was like a cast. And that I had such a great experience with. I think it was a year, a little under a year I got to do it. And it was the first time I was on TV like extensively in Canada. And it was a very popular show in Canada. So, I got to do sketch on TV. I got to be a part of the live broadcast. And it was amazing, man. They would bring on musical guests. I got to see Kendrick Lamar, I think around when he put out Section 80, the mixtape, Section 8.0. And it was surreal for me because I was like a fan, and I got to see him he was doing the rehearsals. And then I remember the sound guy was like, "You want to come see Kendrick do the rehearsals?" I was like, "Yeah." So it was like a lot of those moments and memories that, I hold dearly.
That's amazing. So, I do want to mention you're one of the co-stars of the Hulu show Ramy, and I want to get to that in a second. I want to first kind of talk about the jump, like what it took to leave Windsor and go to Toronto and just kind of go head first and just follow your dream, which you've been so successful at.
Well, I wasn't gonna leave. I wasn't gonna go to Toronto. I knew a comic who was headlining Yuck Yucks, the comedy chain, and he was like, I think he was like, you got to come to Toronto. I knew nothing about the customs and borders and immigration. I thought I could just move to New York or LA. Like I was gonna work in Michigan and then move to those places. Then I realized I was like, oh man, you need paperwork. I don't know why I didn't think so. And then I decided, with the advice of the comedian who was like a headliner for that company. I moved to Toronto, and a friend of mine was in a band, and his whole band they all moved to Toronto. So I was going to visit Toronto, and I would stay with them. So then I eventually just moved to Toronto. That leap was wild to me because I grew up in Windsor, and I left my family and my friends, and I'm thankful because I was able to get on stage so many times to craft my act.
So how did you eventually that led to you're one of the co-stars of the show Ramy with Ramy Youssef, who won the Golden Globe last year.
Yeah.
Bill he beat out Bill Hader and Paul Rudd.
All right, and also Michael Douglas.
And Michael Douglas. That's quite a trio to beat. But he's great. How did you and he connect? How did you end up as part of that show?
I met him 10 years ago, actually, at the Arab Comedy Festival in New York. I think he was doing sketch, and I think, he remembers this conversation. I was telling him I wanted to act, and he was saying he was going to do stand-up. I believe that was our discussion, or one of the things we talked about. And then, I stayed in touch. I moved to LA around 2015, 2016. He's out here. We connected again, and then we just became closer. And then he had, his pilot got picked up, and then I auditioned. He was like, "Do you want to audition?" We were chatting about it. I was like, "Yeah, for sure." And I did, and I was able to land a role on the pilot, and from there it got picked up. So it's so dope, though, because we're friends, and it's so fun to be on set and so fun to be a part of this process.
Tell everyone what the show Ramy is all about.
Ramy Youssef's show. He's a first generation Muslim, and it's really about the first season is about his journey, through his faith, and then living in North America, and fitting in there, and it's about relationships that he has with women, his family, and his friends, and faith too. Like you get to see faith in a positive, it's not like I think he might have said this. I'm paraphrasing. He talks about how religion is usually a punchline. Do you know what I'm saying? In this instance, it's not. So it was pretty. And also, I'm like a Christian Lebanese, so Islam. I learned a lot from even being on the show and acting in it and about Islam. So it was dope for me personally.
It's a great show. I watched. I started watching it to prep for this. You play Ahmed, right?
Yeah.
Ron.
Play his doctor friend or his friend who's a doctor.
Yeah, so it's funny because the scenes with you guys you're always giving them a hassle.
I'm a faith abiding citizen.
It's great. I mean, I love it. It's funny because you're Lebanese, I'm Jewish. The show's Ramy is Muslim, and we have as Jews have Ms. Maisel, right? Have you seen right? But that's more of a surreal show where
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna get into it though.
It's more surreal. I mean, I feel like Ramy show it's pretty real, and it's really great. And it's funny, as I watch it, it's just how things are just the same, just like his uncle, it's was a little racist, and it's everyone's got that. It's it's just funny when you watch it. When I watch Ms. Maisel as a Jew, I go, oh, there's no way someone who wasn't Jewish would find that funny or even understand that joke. When you watch this show, do you go oh, if you're not Muslim or Islam, you wouldn't get that. I mean, you may appreciate it on a certain level, but there's if you didn't grow up in that religion, you just don't get it. That's how I feel when I watch Maisel. There's just certain subtleties that you miss just because you didn't. It would only speak to that niche person watching it. Does that make sense?
it's interesting because there are some parts, yeah, but then I'll meet people or people message me and be like, they're not even a part of that religion or they're not even Arab. And they're like, oh, I understand the aspects of the mom, or I have an uncle that's racist like this. Or so there are a lot of stuff that even though you're not part of the religion or Arab that people get. And I was even sometimes I'm even like, oh, that's really dope. I didn't like I grew up in a Christian family, but I could relate. There are some things obviously that, I don't fully get sometimes, but for the most part, I can relate to it. And I find like other people from other ethnicities and religions, from just them, having discussions about the show, that they find a way to connect.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's interesting when you watch that, and it's a completely different religion. Like for me to watch that, but there's just so many similarities. You're like, oh, we're all so alike. We have all the same beats and patterns in our lives.
It's like when you're like, I feel like as a Christian, it's like I'm not always like following the faith. You know what I mean? There's that kind of like conflicting part, that I deal with in my religion. So when you see that, it's like you can still connect. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not that religion, but I can still connect to some of the struggles and wanting to connect.
Absolutely, it's really well done. He definitely deserved it. I know you've been submitted for best supporting actor, so good luck to that. That'd be super cool. And then season 2 just came out this past May, so there's 2 seasons available for anyone listening. Definitely watch it. It's a great show. Dave's awesome in it as well.
Thank you.
So you also have a comedy album. Yes, Good Friend, Bad Grammar. When did you recorded that? A year or two ago?
Ah, man, I think we recorded that actually in 2017, I want to say. 16 or 17. Sorry for my memory on this. But we were trying to sell it to like streaming services, and then we didn't have luck on that end. So we just put it out, and then we it's on Amazon Prime in the US and the UK. But we put it out, and which I was still super excited about, and it was one of the greatest things I'd done personally for me and the whole team around it. And we filmed it because we video filmed it. I don't know why I said video film, but we recorded it. We also put it on audio, but we did it in Toronto, which was awesome for me because like I came up there, so I got to see people from like 5 years ago who would see me at different venues come to like people from all different, I guess I don't, not walks of life, but like parts of my come up showed up to the show. So we did 2 shows, roughly around like 80 people for each show, and it was amazing, man. I still it was such an amazing night. And then we were able to submit for the Junos, which is like the Canadian version of the Grammys, and it was able to win a Juno, which I was super thrilled about, that our work got to be recognized.
That's amazing. And if it wasn't, if we didn't add enough accolades to your list, more than most have, also part of Netflix's Comedians of the World special, which was great. I saw that. So how did that come to be?
I got a call from my manager in Canada. He's like, you're being like submitted, and I think it's shortlisted for this. The Netflix are doing this Comedians of the World, and I was like, oh man, that's wild, especially for Canadians to be a part of that. And then they picked 4 Canadian comics to do a half hour. Then they picked comics from all over the world, and they filmed it in Montreal at the Just for Laughs festival in 2018 at Club Soda. And I was able, one of my brothers flew out. I was able to bring him to the festival. He got to see there. He got to come for the weekend. And for me, that was just, on top of being a part of it, just amazing to have my brother there to watch and experience with me.
So many great things you've done since the open mics at Yuck Yucks in Windsor. So proud of you, bro. It's so
Thank
great.
you, bro.
It's so great. So tell everyone, how can they find you on social media and stuff like that?
If it's just the handle is Dave Merheje, Merheje, and that's on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Usually post things on there, and the website is davemerheje.com. But if you're on Instagram, which I think everyone is, I'm there posting, and just hanging out, I guess, internet wise, hanging out.
All right. Well, hey, Dave, it was really great catching up with you. So much happiness for all your success. It's
Thank you,
great.
bro.
And I appreciate you spending some time with me. All right. Well, check out Dave. Great guy. Worked his butt off. Got everything he deserved. All the success. So I wish him much more in the future as well. I think it's just a starting point for him. And in keeping with the theme of Dave's show, Ramy and faith that we talked about. With hashtag Roundup, I found a hashtag because of my faith from Heavenly Hashtags. This one isn't as jokey joke as the ones in the past because sometimes you just got to speak the truth. Because of my faith, I can face the dark days. Because of my faith in humanity, I believe we can do better. Because of my faith, I believe in greater things to come. And because of my faith, I'm not afraid to take a leap. Let that be the overall lesson of this episode. Take a leap, follow your dream, and all the good things will happen. Thanks for joining me. I'm Jeff Dwoskin. Like, subscribe, find us, tell your friends. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Jeff Dwoskin Show with your host, Jeff Dwoskin. Now go repeat everything you heard and sound like a genius. Catch us online at thejeffdwoskinshow.com or follow us on Twitter at Jeff Dwoskin Show, and we'll see you next time.